Good morning, everybody. I thank you for taking the time this morning to join us for this webinar about an important topic on how to generate leads for Medicare's upcoming enrollment period that begins October 15th. It's really important now that we put together a solid plan so that you can have a successful AEP. And a very critical part of that plan is how to market compliantly and how to generate leads for that very busy time. Making the presentation this morning is Chris York with Dialogue Direct, and he will be discussing important strategies to help you build a successful marketing and lead generating campaign. So I also want to let you know that there's an opportunity for questions and answers. If you want to ask a question that will be addressed at the end of the presentation, you can just type that into the questions box there in your GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll be sure to address any questions at the conclusion of the presentation. So with that, I want to turn it over to Chris. And Chris, thanks so much for making this presentation today.
Hey, Rob, thank you very much. I want to thank everybody else for joining. First of all, let me give a disclaimer. My travel plans, as wings go often, got me delayed, so I'm actually sitting in the quietest corner of an airport I can. So occasionally you may hear a flight announcement, but I think we can work through it okay, so I think we're okay. So, guys, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys today, and the fact that our Jenner and Associates have brought us the opportunity to talk about what we do at Kramer Direct. But I really don't want to make this a commercial for Kramer Direct. I mean, some of you may be already doing business with us, and if so, thank you very much. If not, maybe you'll learn some stuff here that will want you to come do business with us. My purpose here really today is to educate and really talk about ways that you can build a successful marketing campaign during AEP. And hopefully you'll come up with some strategies that make it work for you. So whether you order with us or whether you order one of the other vendors, I hope it's successful for you. So again, thank you very much. Kramer's been doing this for a long time, for about 35 years. And if you guys have been around this business as long as I have, that's an anomaly for a lead generation company. And the reason we've been around so long is that we provide good, affordable, quality leads for agents across the country that work. We know that lead generation is probably the most important part of what you do every day. It's probably the biggest part of your budget as well. So I'm hoping some ideas that we can give you here will help you stretch that budget and be able to have a very good campaign. One of the ways that we want to help, thanks to the people that we're working with here today, is they're going to give away a 1,000-piece mailer drawing to the people who attend the seminars. The good news is you're already registered. The fact that you're on means that you're registered automatically. What we're going to do is it's a 1,000-piece mailer. It's our double postcard format. You'll see what it looks like a little bit later. It's our best performing piece. We're going to include standard data, which would be, you can pick the geography, the age, the income, whatever product you want to market as well, whatever thing you wanted to do as far as the different mailers we offer, they're there. So I said we're going to base it on your registration. We have a seminar today and one on Thursday. There's going to be one winner from both of those. To qualify, all you got to do is just stay on until the end. If you want to answer any questions, that's great. But again, the first part you're here, stay on to the end. The winner's going to be drawn Friday. And the thing that always gets me about these things is you never know who actually won. So one of the things that we'll do is send out a notice to everybody who was on the calls today and Thursday and tell them who won. So thank you for that. Let's get started. AEP is certainly an interesting time. I always say it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. It's a great time for us to build our business and recontact with clients to make sure, part of an annual review, we're doing the best thing for them. But it's also a crazy time when there's just so much activity compressed in such a short period of time that you want to do what you can to get the most effective out of those 60 to 65 days that we can market. And there's two enduring truths that I know about AEP that have been around ever since AEP started. Seniors start shopping, and that activity increases pretty much all the way through Thanksgiving. By the time Thanksgiving rolls around, they've pretty much made up their mind. You still see some stragglers who are shopping, but they begin to really do the buying if they haven't. And the other thing is, just because we know how busy it is, and you guys know this, they are absolutely, totally bombarded by offers. So it's really what we've got to do is we've got to find a way that we can actually break through the noise and really get across to them. If you think about this, one of the things that we also know is that during AEP, seniors get a lot of mail. I mean, I was at a conference, I think it was probably early this year. It might have been, I forget where it was. It was a conference early this year. And they said that during AEP, seniors get anywhere from 19 to 25 pieces of mail. Now, that includes offerings from the current company, but they got to get a lot of stuff. So one of the things that we'd like to talk about today is some ways that you can sort of break through that noise, get past that mailbox and open, so it gives a good chance to see their offerings that you've got to them today. You know, the other thing is, people say with so much noise in the mail, they also talk about, well, you ought to do email campaigns as well. You know, CMS changed regulations last year that was actually okay to do email marketing to seniors now for Medicare Advantage. And that's good. And if you do it, I would just want to point out one thing to you. That is actually a screenshot from my Outlook account yesterday. And while again I may not be as busy as everybody else is, seniors' inboxes are full too. I mean, you can see I got 228 people who are mad at me because I haven't answered the mail yet. But there are ways that you can combine mail, you can combine emails, you can do a number of things to try to get through it. And what we want to do is try to give you some ideas that might help with that and which you can build your campaign. So first of all is, I know we're sitting here and it's July 30th, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys knew this today, kind of an important day in our industry history. It was 54 years ago today that Lyndon Johnson actually signed the Medicare Act. And he issued the first Medicare card to Harry Truman, who was Medicare recipient 001. And if you think about it, it was that act, when he signed that pen, that really led to the rise of not only health protection for seniors to help protect their wealth and also their health, but also gave us the ability to start a new industry that we can work with seniors and help provide their services. So it's I think it's kind of interesting we're having this call today on what is really a day that we in the market ought to remember and celebrate a bit. But July 30th, plan ahead and do that. I realize, again, AEP doesn't start for a couple of months, but listen, you guys ought to be thinking right now is what your marketing plan is for AEP. We know that a lot of agents write a lot of their business, particularly their Medicare businesses, during AEP. It's also one thing to point out is it's a great time to rent Medicare supplement. There's more Medicare supplement business written the last quarter than any other quarter during the year. So think about, as you're moving into AEP, what products that you're going to offer that are available in your marketplace to your customers and new customers you want to get. So start now, figure out what products you do want to market, and then really identify your goals so you can be ready to go. Okay. Again, a little bit more information for you. We know that seniors shop pretty heavily during AEP. This is just a group that does research into seniors' buying habits during AEP. And as you see that, this blue line is these people who actually bought last year and actually switched. The green line is people who shopped but did not buy. As you can see, from mid-October to early part of November, 51% of the people actually did some shopping. And then early November to right about Thanksgiving, 49% of the people said yes, they looked, and begin to trail off from that. What's interesting, though, is there really needs to be another graph added to that. We know that about 25% of the seniors start shopping for their health plan options in September. Because think about what happens in September. Seniors get their ANOCs, or annual notice of change, and that's always a time for just a little bit of fear and a little bit of discomfort for seniors, because I don't know if you guys ever seen those documents. They're daunting. They're not marketed at all. The CMS does the regulations, which means it's a very difficult document to get through. So even if the ANOC is full of good news, which over the last few years it has been, there's not been a lot of changes, it's a time for seniors to really start, maybe I need to start looking. So one thing you think about, when's a good time to be in mail? We'll talk about that. I think it's not a bad idea to do some general mailings in September to start sort of loading the pipe for coming up on AEP. First step, identify your goals are. And I guess the first part of identifying your goals is how you want to generate business and what your marketing plan is going to be during AEP. Most of us in this call are part of what I call the lead generation, which is really the first thing. And this is where you send out some sort of advertisement, whether it's direct mail, it's an email, you're doing something on social media where you get a response and you reach out directly and talk to those people. What's good about lead generation is, particularly if you use a medium like direct mail, is you can target very specifically who you want to go with. And it's really again what most of you are going to do. Number two is seminars. I've been in this business for 39 years. I've done seminars my entire career, whether it's recruit agents, whether it's welcome people to Medicare, whether it's talk about Part D, whether it's recruit pharmacists, whatever it is. I think seminars are a tremendous way to get in front of a lot of people at a lot of time. I mean, think about it. Most Medicare Advantage companies, you know, that's when they do the bulk of their mailing for their internal sales forces to seminars. Again, I say they work. If you've never done seminars, this is not a good time to jump in and try. Partner with somebody who can help you learn how to do them. Again, I think they're a great way to get the same message. There's two things that go wrong with seminars. You can have too many people show up, and you can have not enough people show up. If too many people show up and you haven't planned it properly and you don't have a large enough facility, you've got some angry people who are mad and just not comfort. If not enough people show up, I don't know how many times have you ever conducted a meeting when there's like less than 5 people in the room. It's really difficult to get that energy going. So make sure whoever you're doing seminar planning with, they can help you plan to do the seminars. Because listen, if they work, they work. But if they go wrong, they go very, very wrong badly because they are not inexpensive to do. The third one is something I've seen rise, that's really come to more in the forefront, particularly over the last 10 years, and even more so lately, as more and more companies with a Medicare Supplement or Medicare Advantage now have telephonic app or electronic apps that we can do. It used to be this direct consumer. When I thought about it, it was primarily large insurance companies who were doing lots of mailing to get people to respond to them, or it was the really large call centers out there, the people with 300, 400, 500 seats. That's what they do through the year, and people are calling them or making outbound calls. But with today's technology that's available to you from a lot of your carriers, where you can do electronic apps or telephonic apps, it's really something for you to do as well. So think about this. Most agents, when they work, they're doing face-to-face selling is what they're doing, which means they're working probably pretty close within a relatively small geographic area where they are. It could be, though, that, for example, if you're sitting in Austin, Texas, you may represent a Medicare supplement plan, for example, that's got a really hot rate, I don't know, in San Angelo or Lubbock. And if you guys have ever been to Texas, those are both at least 8-hour drives. But with things like direct mail, where you can target to specific area codes, specific zip codes, specific groups of people might apply to, you could really market to any place where you're licensed and you have a competitive product and have those people call you as well. So it's a way really to add to your business. I know a lot of agents, what they're doing now, they still work their market and locally, but the thing they'll do is they'll go to that direct consumer and do some telephonic enrollments and sales as well. Again, the key to that, I think, when you're selling the telephone is make sure it's a competitive product. You don't want to do a Medicare supplement product that is $10 higher than the closest rate a month, because in spite of whatever, you may be the best salesman. That's difficult to do. But make sure that you've got some really good products you market those. So determine, identify your goals, figure out what you want to do. The most important ingredient of all of this is not creative. It's not necessarily the products you have. Really is, it's the data. Who you're going to send your message to, whatever it is, whether it's direct mail, whether it's newspaper, whether it's whatever it is, you want to send the right data. Because if you don't have the right data, you're going to miss your target. You're going to be upside down just like that guy's in your marketing budget is, just like everything else is. You know, it used to be not too long ago, and I'm going back maybe 5, 6, maybe 10 years ago, is that you knew pretty much an area where there was a high concentration of seniors. And you could pretty much, what I saw, carpet bomb, just mail everybody the same piece and you would get a decent rate. Today, as buyers have become more sophisticated and with the ability to do more segmentation and really target your audience, and because there are so many different products available these days, from Medicare Supplement to Medicare Advantage, it could be HMOs, it could be PPOs, certain products apply to certain people. So you want to make sure whoever your vendor is, they're going to work with you and give you the opportunity to pick what data you want to. Most vendors are going to give you the basic: age, income, name, address, gender, and some other things. They're going to give you some basics. But it's possible you want to tweak some of those depending on what market you're placed in to make a difference. So, for example, and again, since we're talking about AEP and it's primarily Medicare Supplement, Medicare Advantages, let's take a look at some things that I would suggest you do for picking your data for your product you're in. I think we'll all agree that the Medicare Supplement buyer is different than the Medicare Advantage buyer. And the primary thing that sets them apart is the willingness or the ability to pay a fixed premium. Look, Medicare supplement products are great. I mean, think about it. Freedom of choice. Any doctor, anytime, anywhere that accepts Medicare, you can sell a Medicare supplement. And the reason seniors like Medicare supplements is because they know what their fixed cost is. If I buy since we know Plan F's going away next year, if I buy a Plan G, I know I got my premium plus my Part B deductible. That's my fixed cost. And then I got to buy, obviously, a Part D plan on top of that. That appeals to a lot of seniors. What appeals to some seniors about Medicare Advantage is the fact that it's a zero premium and very low copays. So while they don't have what their fixed budget is, there's out-of-pockets on that, certainly. But they are just a little bit different market. So, for example, on the Medicare supplement, during AEP, I would suggest that you mail people who are 64 and 6 months to age 75 or 72 or whatever carrier you're dealing with that has a competitive product, let it go with that. Now, I would, even though you think about it, it's AEP and you're mailing to people who are 6 months out, a good thing with a Medicare supplement, most carriers will let you ride it at least 6 months out, so you could do that. The other thing that we see has most success is I would do with a minimum household income of about $30,000 and up. And on the upper end, there's really no limit because we see Medicare supplement applies to a number of people. But $30,000 is going to get pretty much enough income to be able to afford the premium and also to afford the Part D premium on top of that. We always suggest that you mail one per household, particularly during AEP, because let's face it, when you're mailing to a household, generally speaking, it's possible you'll have two people who qualify. Now, certainly there are some houses where you have a spouse who's under age 65, but the majority of people we're going to be mailing is there's going to be two people that qualify in that household. There's no reason to mail to both of them because they're going to get the same, because what happens is you're just really doubling up when you don't have to. We always default to female first because we find out no matter what is, in most cases, the female is the one who makes the healthcare buying decisions. So there's no reason to send two pieces of mail to the same household when one person's going to make the buying decision. So, for example, that might see when you see some counts that we typically won compared to some other vendors out there, we may have a lower count than they have because we're only going to send one into a household we want to. And again, default to female first. You're able to do what you want to, but that we would recommend. Medicare Advantage is just a little bit different. I would mail 64 and 9 months to 79 because 64 and 9 months, you're going to hit the people who are turning 65 in January 1st. We mailed incomes 0 to 125,000. So certainly one of the advantages about a Medicare Advantage product is for people who are in the lower income can buy it because there's zero premium, a lot of times zero copays on drugs, a number of different things. They have those low copays. We cut it off at 125,000. So again, I work with 20 health plans. We work with thousands of agents. We take a look at the data, and we know at 125,000 and up, respondents to Medicare Advantage mailers and solicitations pretty much just drop straight off a cliff, number one. So my opinion is there's no reason to spend money where you're not going to get a high response rate from that. Now, certainly, somebody's 125,000, there's some other products within CMS regulations that allow you to do, you might do. But if you've got a limited budget, like most people do, I'd cut that off at 125,000. And again, I would go one per household, and I would certainly default to female first. Again, any vendor you're working with will give you the ability to tweak those things as you go. Every market's a little bit different. Certainly that 30,000 minimum income that I mentioned on Medicare supplement is sort of a national average. That may be 15,000 in Del Rio, Texas, and it may be 50,000 in San Francisco. So as you're talking to whoever vendor you're is, and so when you talk to us is, talk about your marketplace. Tell them what you're comfortable with, what you've seen, but then also say, what kind of response rate will you see working well in my area? And they ought to be able to tell you, say, listen, these types of products, this is what we see what's worked, this is the average response rate we get, this type of thing. Again, just like the customers that you go to, and when you talk to them about your products, they ask you questions, you need to ask that question as well. Most of you are probably not experts in lead generation, but you're coming to experts like Kramer Direct and some of the other competitors out there to help answer your questions. Again, just like your customers are coming to you because of your expertise. Ask questions. If you don't feel like you're getting the right answer, call me. We can help you with that. So that's just different. And what's interesting about this will fall into our slide a little bit about, where do seniors shop to take a look at it. So this covers really, it's the last AEP. And so you see this top green line is 2018 and 2017 and 2016. And you'll notice for all three of those years that the number one seniors still go to look for is direct mail. Let's face it, it still works. You hear a lot of talk about Facebook and social media, and all that is absolutely true. And that's certainly true when you talk about the people who are coming into Medicare now and probably up into 67, 68, even 69. Those people are certainly more tech savvy. But during AEP, we're casting a wide net, and we're dealing with a lot of seniors who still aren't there yet. And even the people who are tech savvy, they still, 54% of them said, 46% said, yes, I use direct mail. And you'll see some other things on there, Anox, direct from other things. The only thing that came close this year and was kind of weird is that TV ads, this last ones, was also something that responded very well for customers. You see a lot of people did that. I take that as because it used to be TV ads is you'd have to run your own ad and be expensive. As you guys are probably all everybody's seen this ad. There's a lot of companies out there that are now just running ads. Medicare Hotline. I think you've probably all seen the guy, the doctor, talking about, you've got more benefits you're entitled to, you get. He's standing in a white coat with a stethoscope around him. So a lot of companies like that get ads, call in, and then what they do is they sell them to people. They'll sell them to individual agents or sell to call centers or whatever. But a lot of seniors are certainly looking toward that as well. Newspaper ads work, but again, if you've got a limited budget and you're trying to get the biggest bang for your buck, experts, not just me, and I'm not being just because it's my business, will tell you, direct mail is still today, July 30th, 2019, is still the most effective way to get your message in front of seniors. Okay. I wish I could give you a perfect lead. I mean, if I could give you a perfect lead, I would have retired a long time ago. And I don't know about you, when I used to generate my own leads or when I would generate leads for my agents, I thought a perfect lead would be I'd send out 1,000 mailers, I'd get back 100 replies, I'd go knock on the door, the person would answer the door, they'd be standing there with a pen in one hand, checkbook in the other hand, and say, thank God you're here, sign me up. I can't do that. I wish I could. I can certainly point you and give you the ability to get in for people who are interested and have a propensity. What you got to remember, a lead is not a sale. A lead is simply a way to start a conversation, to give some information to some people who are in your marketplace who are interested in what you have to talk about and do it. That's really what you need to concentrate when you think about that. So we would normally suggest is, when you're doing a Medicare supplement, for example, you want to do more of a generic piece, not so generic that doesn't really tell them why they're coming, that type of thing. But a piece like this, I see this says turning for age 65. We also have a piece that works just for Medicare supplement. And you can see it goes out. It's very generic. It's very, it's black and white. We can do all sorts of different color postcards as well. And it asks for some information to return back to them. What's your date of birth? What's your spouse's date of birth? That type of thing. We do that. The messaging, again, is also very generic. It tells them, hey, listen, I'm going to come out and I'm going to give you a comparison of the Medicare supplement plans that are available in the area. But there's also plans available like this for Medicare Advantage. And so while it's generic, and this is specifically mention a company name, and it does, and in some states we have to put your name down in the disclaimer down here, just generic enough that it doesn't look like a marketing piece, and people will tend to respond higher to a generic piece like this. What's good about mailing a Medicare supplement mailer, remember, you still have the right to sell Medicare supplement during AEP. But you guys are all right now in all the middle of your compliance and middle of all your certifications, and there's certain rules and guidelines which you have to follow if you start with a Medicare supplement product that they're interested in Medicare Advantage. I'm not a compliance guy. That's why you work with people like Jetter and Associates, so they can help you make sure you stay compliant. But it's a good time to be in front of them. We see more mail going out in September with a piece like this than any other time of the year. We also see a higher response rate because, again, people are beginning to respond. Now, during Medicare Advantage, for a Medicare Advantage piece, you really can't be in the homes before October 1st. It needs to be, I always do more of a generic piece, that type of thing. I will tell you, generally speaking, Medicare supplement pieces respond higher than Medicare Advantage pieces, mainly because while CMS has relaxed some guidelines on advertising, there's still more disclosure that has to put on it to do with Medicare supplement. But again, the people who respond know why you're coming at least. So I would certainly do these pieces. One of the difficult things about sometimes with direct mail, if it's going out, for example, standard third class, you really don't know exactly the date it's going to be in the home, because legally the post office, once it gets to theirs, while most of them don't, they can take pre-sort third class mail or standard mailers, and they don't have to deliver it. They can wait 2, 3, 4. I think they've got up to 5 days they can deliver it. So one of the things you want to ask your vendor when you're talking to them is say, hey, my pieces, how are they going out? Are they going out first class? Are they going out standard? Well, one of the things we do, and the reason that we design the pieces that look like this, where it's sort of this postcard and it's got that double postcard where it comes back, is the post office allows those to send these out at a pre-sort first class, which means that when it goes in the mail stream, I know it's going to be in the homes 2 to 3 days later. So it's allow you to really time your mailings when you want to be there. So, for example, if you know you don't want to be in the homes until after October, but you want to be there the 1st or 2nd, using first class, you can direct it. The other thing also is that if things are going well for you, AEP, or for whatever reason, if you want to do a last-minute mailing to sort of get you over the hump to give that last sort of stump, the last couple of weeks, or certainly that last week after Thanksgiving, the first week of December, with the first-class postages, you can target and know when you're going to be in home. But those are certainly 2 ways that you can do those pieces. Which also brings up the question is, well, why wouldn't I want to put my name all over it? Why would I want to give people my name, my address, my picture? All those things are absolutely wonderful to do if you want to, but there's really no reason to. Unless you're mailing to your current customers and you want to say, hey, it's me, remember me? Let's face it, most of the people in your community probably don't know who you are. So seeing your picture, your name, it's really not going to help as much as you think it might would be. So we say, listen, do a generic or branded piece, which is the one we just showed you earlier. You see it's got no company name on it. We put your name on it. We're required to by law, that type of thing. But generally, generic mail pieces give a higher response rate, which means people are responding simply because they're maybe not sure it's a marketing piece. Even though we tell them we're going to bring a Medicare supplement comparison, it's not quite as markety as some of the really other colorful pieces that you see. So what that means is more people will respond. But generally speaking, a generic piece will give you a little bit lower conversion rate, which is basically a sales to lead ratio, than, say, for example, if you did a piece like this, which is really more branded. You see, it's colorful, it's got more detail, it's got a number of things. Pieces like this, what you would do is you would use to maybe sort of pre-qualify, use the mail to pre-qualify the people, maybe put some specific benefits. Some people like to put premiums in their ads, but those all have to be approved, a number of things and what have you, but you can be a little bit more specific. So have more detail, which generally means you'll get a lower response rate, but the people who respond have a better idea where you're coming, so you will see generally a higher conversion rate. So it's really sort of what your goal is and what your idea and almost how you feel comfortable doing. A generic piece like this will give you more people to get in front of to sort of help fill your pipeline. But you won't close as many. You'll still have a good closing ratio, but you won't close as many. With a piece like this, though, you're going to see you'll get a little bit fewer responses and not as high as conversions. Okay. So we talked a lot about direct mail, but one of the things I like to do is say, as an agency out there, as somebody who's working in it, you really ought to take a look at other avenues to help generate your leads. I have a comment as always, if you've got an unlimited budget, do everything you can. Do direct mail, do social media, which is typically Facebook, get internet leads, do newspaper, do radio, and do all of those things. So when you do them combined, they all work very well together. So for example, again, direct mail works well. We know that. It's certainly easy. It's also when you work with a vendor like us or a partner like us to help you do it, we can do the work for you and get it out. Social media certainly is making inroads into people responding. We know that Facebook, again, seniors the highest percentage of growth in Facebook that you can. The trouble with Facebook is most of us don't have the budget or the technical expertise to go out and do a Facebook campaign. So there are other companies out there that do sell Facebook ads and provide that to you. Facebook, while you can't do a specific person, what you can do with Facebook is you can target regions, you can tell the type of person you're going after, and they'll market it for you so that it's out there. Internet leads, listen, internet leads are inexpensive. They're an inexpensive lead. They will work. if you respond to the inquiry very, very quickly. I mean, there's some studies out there that shows is the longer you wait to call back an internet lead, the less chance you have a set an appointment in front of them. And it's not because the person you bought the internet lead is selling that lead to somebody else. We know that if somebody's on a website looking for looking at the internet inquiring, those same people are going to look at 3 or 4 other sites as well. So it's not that your provider's competing against you, others do. So internet leads, it's certainly important to jump on them quickly. Newspapers, for those of you who still live in a community that has a newspaper, they work well again in our marketplace as well. Particularly in the older age, a lot of people still read that newspaper every day. My personal feeling is general newspaper ads where you just do generic ad. Hi, it's Chris York and Associates. We're a full service agency. Call us if we can help you. You know, I personally don't think that's a good expenditure of money. Where I see newspapers work, if you were doing seminars, you're going to be at an event, at that type of thing, target an ad and say, we're going to be here, here, and here, and be a more specific event. TV and radio, again, and when I say TV and radio, most of you don't want to go out and buy your own TV and do your own radio spot. You want to do that. But there are companies out there that provide TV leads as well as radio leads. So there's a number of sources. Whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you want to work, just, again, the more you layer in, the more success you're going to have. They need to be coordinated, though. If what you're going to sell is, if you're going to do a seminar, if you're doing newspaper ads, advertise seminars. If you're going to sell Medicare Advantage, again, make your campaigns match together so everything comes and coordinates and goes for you. And the last thing I want to talk to you before we turn over the question is, you want to find the right partner. And the right partner is a couple of things. And the right partner is you take a look at it, you know, and I obviously you guys know I'm of the age where the Beatles are just like they were the group. So the Beatles were there. But what you want to do is you really want to partner with the 66 Beatles while they were just magical, working together and doing everything they can to work, as opposed to the 68 Beatles. They were still together and good, but there was just a lot of discord. You want to find the partner that really makes you those 66 Beatles. And the partner would be, for example, number one, a vendor with us. Somebody that's going to do things like, number one, protect your mailing list. Where any mailing that you do, we're not going to remail the same type of mailer for 60 days. We never sell any leads. A vendor that's going to give you daily access to your leads, or they're delivered daily, that type of thing. A vendor who's going to update their mailing list every 30 days. So you're not sending out mail to people that have moved or have died. You know, and they're going to give you the basics and all-inclusive pricing with first-class postage, data, that type of thing. And the other thing you want to obviously work is with an FMO that's a great partner for you as well, like the people hosting our event today. You know, find that right partner to work with you so they'll know that you're getting the best you can. Remember, guys, it's your money. You have the right to get the quality type of service you want. So here's how we make it order for you. It's easy to do. There's our 800 number. It's a toll-free number. And all you do is just say, hey, I'm with our Jetter and Company. They're my FMO. And what that does is that automatically gives you the special rate that we've gone out for that. As you talk to one of our customer service representatives, they'll choose the area, the demographics. We'll send you a sample of what your mailing is. Once the mailing is placed and ordered, we ship it out of the mail. It's in the mail 2 to 3 days later. And then we know it's in the home 2 to 3 days later, which is good. So by the time you place the order, it's generally going to be in the homes within 5 business days when it was placed. Because the reply card comes back first class as well, comes back to our facility, we started getting reply cards back generally 10 to 14 days. So as you're planning when you want to start your activity, keep that in mind. You'll start getting reply cards, and most of them will come in 14 to 21 days after it goes in the mail. All the reply cards come back to our facility in Dallas. We scan them in. We then, when you get your first response for us, you get an email from us and say, congratulations, Chris, you've got your first lead in. Go to this website. Here is your login credentials. Here is your password. When you go in that takes you to a secure portal that only you can see that actually tracks all your leads. Shows you every lead that comes in, including the PDF, so we can deliver leads to you electronically every day. So we do that. One of the good things is that our average rate out there, so, it's funny. We talk about, you'll hear people talk about, well, our rate's $520, $1,000. We have a special, this type of thing, and what have you. Our normal everyday rate is $470 $1,000. What that includes, everything we talked about, the postage, the response cards coming back to us, the first class mail, the data, the production, the printing, all the services we've talked about here is $470. Occasionally, we will run specials where that takes it down to maybe $450, $1,000 on certain specific things. But because you guys are associated with our Jetter and Company, you're going to get a special rate of $450 per 1,000, no matter what you're ordering, no matter what the product is, as long as your double postcard is. We've negotiated a special rate just for them. Now, I do more point out is there's a little increased postage for turning 60 prize. We don't have the density, so there's an additional charge on that. But that $450 1,000 is a great rate, and that is your everyday rate because you're associated with these guys. And that works very, very well. And the last thing I want to remind you before I turn it over, because I know we're running out of time, is about the 1,000-piece drawing. To the point now you guys have qualified. We'll pick the winner on Friday, and we'll announce it to everybody. And Rob, I've managed to take up 36 minutes of the time we have allotted. So I don't know. I'm sure there have some questions. We'll certainly be able to take some questions and answer them as they came up. So, Rob, I'll give it back to you.
Chris, thanks so much. We really appreciate it. It's the question that we get most often in the business is, how do I get leads? And while we are really encourage agents to work their block of business when it comes to Medicare, it's really important that they know that there's a good, solid lead company available that we're going to give them. And I just want to give a little bit of insight as to the relationship that we've had with Kramer Direct throughout the years. When I first started here 11 years ago, the first lead vendor that I heard of was Kramer. Art Jetter has a strong relationship with Alan Kramer, who was the founder at Kramer, and now that Dialogue Direct is with Kramer Direct, that partnership has grown even stronger. So we're really excited to be able to offer this as part of our portfolio of lead vendors that we're reputable lead vendors. So I do want to open it up to questions. If you have a question, just type it into the chat box there, and let me see if any questions have been asked so far. Chris, can you talk about the response rates that you get from the lead mailers as to the process?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So it's interesting. So when you talk to people about response rates, the one question you want to ask is, they give you a response rate. What they're going to say it is the national response rate. So, for example, on our Medicare supplement mailers, we average about a 2.5% response rate on Medicare supplement mailers. Now, that's going to vary depending on where you are. In upstate New York, that's going to be over 4%. In Idaho, it's going to be 0.8%. So that's about the response rate we get there. When you call and talk to the Kramer Direct, we're going to find out what area you're in. Also, when we send you our order, we can tell you, hey, this is the response rate we're getting on this piece in this state. Honestly, Medicare Advantage mailers do reply. Our national response rate is less. And the reason is because, again, it's a little bit more detailed. It's got a little more disclaimer on it. But it's a little bit smaller response rate. So what I suggest do when you call, when you talk to one of our managing CSRs there at Kramer Direct, just say, what's the response rate in my state? And what we'll do is we will give you the average response rate over the last 6 months. Any time past that, it almost doesn't matter because they change almost monthly.
Excellent. And can you also then go into detail about the process? So the card goes out, they get a response. What's the recommended point of contact after that?
Okay, so when you place, so let me go back to this. So everything that we send out's got a business reply card on it. And that business reply card that goes out includes some pre-populated information we sent the mailer to. So we generally have their name, their address, that type of thing. And on those mailers, we ask them, say, are you looking for a comparison rate? Do you have coverage now? What is your age? What's your spouse's age? That type of thing. We don't ask them income because we know what their income is because we mailed it to a certain thing. We also ask for phone number and email. We can provide phone numbers if you want to, but in my experience, we do not call lists. You're only getting about 25% of the people you mail to will have the phone number. When we ask for a phone number on the mail card, we get anywhere from 45 to 50, sometimes 55% of people put in their phone number, which gives you permission to contact. So we'll place the order with you. It'll go in. As I say, those reply cards should start coming back within 10 to 14 days. That reply card comes back to our facility in Dallas. We then scan it in and upload it into your secure portal that nobody can see but you. And in that portal, it'll have will have a response rate, but more importantly, it will include an image of the PDF, a PDF of the reply card. So when you print it out or have it for your records, you'll have that PDF on there. And those come back in, and I'll just feed in every day. We upload new responses every day that they come in, so any lead we get in is never more than 24 hours away from when we received it. And you stay on top of that. I don't know, Rob, did I answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. It's
sure.
When we work with Kramer, it's a process involved after they get the response. Is agents want to know how the best way to contact them, so I appreciate that response.
So absolutely. So there's a couple of things. The best way to contact them, number one, if they got a phone number, So listen, so I grew up old school and worked with a lot of career agents. So what we always did, depending on obviously a CMS, state regulations, and what your local residences regulations are is, I personally think it's always a good idea when you get a response card to go knock on the door, because you're going to be mailing an area, you'll have a lot of them say they're going to knock on the door. Otherwise, the phone number's provided, you have the right to call them and set an appointment.
Excellent. And then a great question here. When someone responds to the direct mail piece, does that satisfy the CMS requirement to contact them?
So if we're specifically mailing a Medicare Advantage piece, one of the response cards we do is we say, yes, I would like information on the Medicare Advantage. I would like information on Medicare Advantage and Part D. I would like information on Medicare Supplement and Medicare. They check that block and yes, it does satisfy that. It does give you permission to contact.
So just as regarding the drawing that we'll be giving away for a 1,000-piece mailer, it's important that for all those that attended, we appreciate your attendance today and listening in. To qualify, you also need to be contracted with at least one of our carriers. So for those that may not be, we'll be sure to get you contracted before Friday's drawing. So and glad to help you out in putting together a very successful marketing campaign for a successful AEP. And I look to a lot of emails coming from us in the coming days about the carriers and their plan announcements and their 2020 plan outlines for the upcoming AEP. So if you have any further questions on anything, please feel free to reach out to us at seniorhealth@jetter.com, or you can call us at 800-228-0008. So everybody, thank you very much, and you all have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.